I'm going to be talking about the hardest parts about chasing the UFC dream at a really young age. The first really hard thing I would say about chasing the dream of UFC champ status is not being able to, do what a regular teenager like my age does, like, go out with their friends, hang out. Just something simple as going out with your friends, A lot of my friends, they like to hang out at the night times, like they like to hang out past 10 p.m. and I'm like, they'll call me up, yo, let's hang out, and I'm like, I can't, I gotta sleep, get my recovery in for the next day of training. Or, even just small things of, hey, let's go out and let's go get something to eat, something that's more so unhealthy, and I can't, I gotta diet, so I definitely say not being able to hang out with your friends because, of your goals is definitely a hard part of it, because, it's fun when you hang out with your friends, it's fun when you do those types of things, but my goals and my dreams are more important than that. Second most hardest thing about chasing the UFC dream at a young age is definitely the stress. I have a lot of pressure on me, or not pressure, but just a lot of weight on my shoulders with a lot of personal stuff in my life on why I have to fight, why I'm fighting. Not only that, now I have a YouTube channel, and not only that, it's just the stress at a young age with just, injuries you may get, sometimes you get an injury, sometimes I'll get an injury and I'm just like, man, like, am I gonna be okay? How bad is it? Or even just, sometimes seeing me personally, my dad, who is always working really hard, to provide for me, for like my training and for things, it's really hard to see him work really hard, and it makes you just sometimes a little upset because it's like, I don't know how to explain it in words, but it's kind of to the point where it's like, man, you really have to do this, you really got to do it, and you got to do it for your family. And for me, I really have to do it for my dad because he sacrificed a lot for me, and it would be the biggest waste if I wasn't to do this, and that's the main reason on why I am sometimes so stressed. That's one of the biggest reasons. Number 3 is sort of like, it doesn't bother me in any way, but it is something there that is hard and a little annoying to deal with. It's just with all the negativity you get, especially with me, with someone my age who's really young. I may sound crazy to a lot of people, to especially a lot of people my age. A lot of people may think I'm crazy, like, but the 16-year-old kid has a goal to become a UFC champ, the youngest one especially. He's never gonna do that. I get a lot of hate. Not from everyone, but I do get those haters. I get a lot of people just talking trash on me. I got a lot of people just, you won't do it, you're nothing, why are you wasting your time? That's definitely a hard part of it, is the hating, but also at the same time, that's your usefulness and your power, because if you can use that hate and convert their hate into a way of useful energy, because for example, I can be training, and if I'm dead tired, those like flashbacks, images will just play in my mind, and it will just be like, wait, this guy said this, and I'll go crazy, and then I'm not tired anymore because I'm just so focused on that, just to prove that guy wrong. So in the end of the day, your biggest haters are also going to be your biggest source of energy, and it's going to be your superpower. So you need haters to succeed in life. That's something that I've learned. That's something that I've learned off of my dad, from off of some of my, my people that I look up to. I learned that off a lot of people, and I'm taking that advice for myself, and I would love to give that to the rest of the world. And the fourth and most final part of why it is so hard to be an MMA fighter is just the general intensity of it. For me personally, I love the intensity of training, I love it, but there's days where I'm just like, I'm screwed. I'm just like, why the hell do I have to go train? Why do I want to go do this? There's days like that. Everyone will get a day like that, you're not going to love it every single day, but you have to force yourself to love it, because that's something you have to do. But you love it, but at the same time, you hate it. And, sometimes I'm screwed after a day of training, and I have to go the next day to a practice, and I have to go, train really hard. That's also a really big part of it. It's just your mental toughness as well. A lot of people say, oh, fighting's 50% or 90% mental. It's not 90% mental. It's 50% mental, and 50% of your discipline, your skills, how much effort are you putting in. That's the other 50%. Because if you're all mindset, I could be like, oh man, I'm so good, I'm all this and that, but then I only have like a little bit of training and experience. Of course, who do you think is going to win? The guy with 90% training and 10% mental, or the guy with 90% mental and 10% training? it's an obvious question of who's going to win. So if whenever someone says, oh, it's 90% mental, it's not. It's 50% mental and 50% of your physical. Because if your physical or if your mental isn't there, you can win fights, but you're just going to be scared as hell. You know, you're going to be all over the place. So it's better to have that mental part as well, half of it, to be able to perform properly. Like, you know, hard parts like weight cut. You know, that's something really hard for fighters. You know, I've never gone through a weight cut, but I know because I've seen my dad go through multiple weight cuts. I've seen some of my favorite fighters go through all these weight cuts. I know, and I can see how hard it is. You know, and personally, me seeing it in person, I see how hard it is. So I know that weight cut is it's a big difficult thing, most difficult thing for fighters. So yeah, that's also another part of mental. So I'll definitely say the hardness of the sport is what is a really big difficulty, but it's something that I love. I love the hardness, and it's something that I'm made to do. And what can I say, man? MMA, fighting in general, I love it. And yeah, it's one of my favorite things on this planet Earth. I had one more thing I wanted to say, but we'll save it for the next video, so you guys stay tuned for that. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much the end of this video. Just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you guys can stay up to date on all the new content I'm posting, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a blessed day, everybody.